Alright, so today I'm back with yet another chapter review, and today we will go over chapter 306, which is once again a Nagi chapter, as he desperately tries to get back into Blue Lock, and when he thinks that all hope is lost, something happens, but you will just have to sit back and watch to find out what happens. Anyway, please leave a like and a comment as well as join the Discord server. With that out of the way, let's get into it. So to begin chapter 306, also called Hello, we get to Nagi once again, who's sitting at school. We can see some of his classmates saying that class is finally over and that they are going to do some club activities, just having fun. Meanwhile, Nagi is sitting in the middle of them, looking all gloomy and sad. After a while, he starts packing his stuff and heads out of the school. He looks at the people playing football, but he just walks past them over to his bicycle. As he is riding home, he wonders if he will always feel like this, and if he will die while feeling this empty feeling inside himself. He starts pedaling faster, and says that maybe he won't ever get fired up again. We even see him speeding ahead of a car while he's still on his bicycle. Anyway, he thinks that he doesn't want that, and that the thing that he wants is to go back. He starts pushing himself even harder as he's going up a very steep mountain road. He thinks that he wants to meet that fired up version of himself just once more. And there we see him cycling all of his way to the Blue Lock facility. He gets off his bicycle and knocks on the door. He excuses himself and asks for them to please open up and to let him in. We can see that the cameras have detected him, and he looks towards it while asking for just one more chance, and that he wants to fight in Blue Lock again. However, there's no answer and no nothing. Nagi looks a bit let down. However, he says that he will come again, which we see as the next day he once again goes to Blue Lock, but this time with a whole tent with him. Anyway, he gets to the door and asks for them to just hear him out. But like yesterday, the camera only stares at him. Nagi understands that they won't listen, but knows that there's nothing to lose and that he will try whatever he can. He builds up his tent, and after that, he starts doing keep-ups with the ball, before once again asking them to let him in and that he's ready to do anything. The night then comes around and he sticks to his words as he falls asleep in his little tent. The next day comes and he spots a beetle sitting in the tree, so he tries to climb towards it. He then tries making his own curry. However, he put in way too much spices, which made it taste awful. After that, he loses it and just shoots the ball at the door and asks them to open up. He then sits on the ground and knows that they're not gonna come out. He starts to wonder if he should maybe enter from somewhere else, or even contact someone. And when he says that, it finally clicks for him, as he knows that he can just contact those who survived in Blue Lock and ask them to connect him with Ego. He thinks that he should have realized that way sooner. Before he thinks about who he should ask, he says that Isagi is the easiest to talk to, even thinking that at this point, Baru might even hear him out. But with that said, he very well knows that the most reliable one is definitely Ryo. He goes to Ryo's contact, but as he opens it up, he sees a message which says that he can no longer message this account. This makes Nagi's whole world just freeze as he can't believe it. While that's going down, someone finally speaks up from the camera. It's Anri who tells Nagi that this is private property. Nagi looks up right away and asks if it's Anri who's speaking. Anri continues and says that if he stays here any longer, then it will be considered trespassing and that she will have to call the police, which is why she asks Nagi to please leave. Nagi looks completely mind-blown and he has no idea what to say, but Anri speaks before him and says that Nagi is now an outsider and that he's no longer connected to Blue Lock. As Nagi hears this, his whole expression changes as he looks like he's about to kill someone, but even then, he thinks that it's true after all. He starts to get up and wonders what the hell he is doing. He thinks back to when he told Ryo to become the world's best on his own, wondering how he could come back after saying something like that. He puts his hand against his face like the classic anime villain and says that he's hurt, lame, and disgusting, and wonders just what he expected to happen, that they would just let him in like that. He looks at the football on the ground, saying that he's very well aware that he lost, and that's over. And if that wasn't bad enough, then he's still trying to rely on Ryo to come and save him. He calls it disgusting, and that everyone else is already ahead of him, saying that he already understands all of that. Hey, it's Natsu mid-editing here, and I just wanted to pause the video to ask you to subscribe if you haven't already, and while you're already down there, why not leave a like as well? But that he doesn't want to understand. As he says that, he kicks the ball extremely hard against the tent, which makes all of his stuff fly in all types of directions. Thinking that he's the only one who's left behind, he then punches the door extremely hard. We get a close-up on his face where he looks completely crushed, and thinks that he is the only one who doesn't change, and that time has only stopped for him. However, as he is standing there with his bloody hand, someone appears from behind, looking super menacing. We later see that it's Buratsuta, who comes with his smug smile and calls Nagi the genius. Nagi just looks back in pure shock, probably wondering why he is there. Anyway, the ending text says, Approaching despairing Nagi is the president of the Japanese Football Union. Will he offer salvation or temptation? The next chapter is also called Bunny, which I'm not too sure what that could mean. Anyway, back to Nagi. The ending text said that Buratsuta might offer him salvation or temptation. However, we can only look at his smug face and realize that he doesn't have Nagi's best interests in mind, and that he's probably scheming up a way to use Nagi to gain even more money, which honestly is fair. The game's the game. However, I'm just worried that this will lead to Nagi falling down a very dangerous path. Anyway, I have a lot to say, so let's get right into it. Firstly, let's talk about Ryo and Ryo blocking Nagi. Firstly, I saw a ton of hate towards both him and Anri, which I don't get at all. Firstly, I want to clarify that Blue Lock could have made it so that none of the survivors could contact the eliminated players. However, if we say that Ryo blocked Nagi on his own, then good for him. You all don't seem to remember how trash Nagi has treated Ryo throughout the whole Blue Lock journey, throwing him aside when he felt like it, and completely abandoning him at times. Now we know from the episode Nagi spin-off that while he did that, he still cared for Ryo. However, you still can't tell me that what Nagi has done throughout this series hasn't been selfish, which is what he's supposed to do. Don't get me wrong. Blue Lock is all about finding your true ego and being selfish, so I don't have any issues with what Nagi has done. However, all of you switch up when it comes to Ryo doing it. It's obviously because Nagi has a bigger fan base, and some people ride with him whatever happens, which is fair. I would do the same thing for Chigiri, even if he were to, I don't know, attack Isagi with a knife. I would still have his back. But I still don't think it's fair for some people only to make out Ryo as the villain when Nagi has treated him worse. Ryo blocked his number because he needed to focus on himself and didn't have time to babysit Nagi anymore and do what he wants all of the time. It sounds like I'm trash-talking Nagi right now. However, there's no other way for me to say it, as this is exactly what Ryo has had to go through, always catering to Nagi's needs and ambitions while putting himself aside. So I'm glad to see Ryo finally focusing on himself and realizing that he has to go down this road alone. Now let's talk about Anri as well. By the way, I'm probably just going to do a whole dedicated video to this topic, but yeah, this is just a brief segment of that, I feel. Anyway, a lot of people said that Anri was unnecessarily mean towards Nagi, saying that it was hypocritical of her, as she has been his day one glazer. Now firstly, Anri has only complimented Nagi when he's deserved it, because you have to give credit where credit is due, so I really wouldn't call her a Nagi glazer at all. Secondly, Anri's and Ego's sole goal is to win the U20 World Cup, and as Nagi didn't qualify, he simply isn't needed in Blue Lock anymore. So Anri isn't going to babysit some outsider who isn't supposed to be there anymore. Like, Anri even told Nagi to please leave, which was kind enough. But yeah, I just think that Ryo and Anri are both getting an unnecessary amount of hate towards them for nothing. Nagi isn't needed in Blue Lock anymore, so he shouldn't even be there. I was also thinking of going a bit more on Nagi. However, I would be labeled a Nagi hater if I did, so I feel like I'm going to stay away from that. However, I'm very curious about what Buratsuta is cooking up for Nagi. Most likely it isn't for Nagi's sake, and Buratsuta will somehow use Nagi for his own benefit, but I'm still curious about what that could be, and if Nagi's path will just continue to have a negative spiral from here on out. Anyway, please let me know down in the comments what you think Buratsuta is cooking up for our boy Nagi. Lastly, we did actually get a preview for chapter 307, so I wanted to discuss it a bit. It said that to get to know the world's soccer, Isagi goes to Barcelona, Spain. A new encounter awaits. Now this is huge. Firstly, I really thought that it was Sei that he was going to meet, and it could still be Sei. However, as I said in my leak video, I feel like they would have said that he's going to Madrid then, and not Barcelona. So most likely, we will be introduced to some new powerhouse in the next chapter. And it might even be the new Gen 11 from Spain, which will be massive if that's the case. I really can't wait for this chapter, as it will be completely insane. Anyway, if you like Blue Lock and videos like this, then I would highly suggest you subscribe to this channel, and while you are at it, leave a comment and a like, as it helps out with the algorithm a ton. And if you are curious to see another video of mine, then please watch the video that will be popping up on the screen now. Anyway, thanks for watching, and have a great day. Bye.